What if I told you that the thoughts drifting through your mind, those weird dreams, strange urges, sudden flashes of inspiration, aren't entirely yours? What if they're echoes, not from your past, but from the soul of humanity itself? Beneath your personal memories lies a hidden world, a vast, ancient reservoir of symbols, instincts, and stories we all unknowingly share. Carl Jung called it the collective unconscious, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. This isn't philosophy. This is a secret map of the human mind, and tonight, you're going to decode it. Imagine this. You're walking down the street, and out of nowhere, a strange, vivid thought pops into your head. Something you've never consciously thought before, maybe even something a bit dark or oddly specific. You brush it off as random, just brain static. But what if it's not random at all? What if these seemingly spontaneous thoughts are clues, echoes of something much deeper, something ancient, hidden, universal? Carl Jung believed that beneath your personal thoughts, memories, and feelings lies a vast ocean of shared psychic material. It's not just your mind whispering, it's the voice of humanity itself. And it's been there the entire time, subtly shaping the way you see the world, make decisions, and dream at night. Jung called this mysterious layer the collective unconscious. And it's not science fiction or mysticism. It's a cornerstone of analytical psychology that changes everything about how we understand the mind. Unlike the personal unconscious, which is made up of forgotten experiences, repressed feelings, and individual memories, the collective unconscious is something you were born with. It's like psychological DNA, an inherited blueprint of human experience that's been passed down from generation to generation. It doesn't develop through experience. It exists prior to it, and it holds within it the raw material of myth, symbol, fear, love, and instinct. Think about this. Why do people from completely different cultures who have never met and share no language create stories with the same themes? Heroes who go on quests, villains who represent chaos, sacred mothers, wise old men. These patterns, which Jung called archetypes, are not taught. They are known, instinctively, from birth. They arise from the collective unconscious and play out in your life, whether you're aware of it or not. You've probably felt it before, that strange sense of déjà vu, the dream that makes no logical sense yet feels incredibly familiar, the attraction to certain symbols or stories as if they carry some hidden meaning just for you. These are the fingerprints of the collective unconscious, manifesting in the quiet corners of your daily life, quietly guiding your choices, reactions, and emotions. And because it's unconscious, you're not meant to notice it outright. But it's there, always. Now, here's where things get mind-blowing. Jung believed that your so-called random thoughts might not be yours in the personal sense. They're coming from the same well of psychic material that every human draws from. That sudden flash of inspiration, that oddly timed fear, that dream that seems to belong to someone else's life. All of it could be the collective unconscious rising to the surface, breaking through the cracks of your ego. This idea completely redefines what it means to be human. You're not just a single individual floating in a bubble of private thoughts. You're part of a shared mental ecosystem, a living network of stories, instincts, and ancient wisdom coded into your psyche. Jung saw the mind not as a closed system, but as a bridge, connecting the personal with the universal, the individual with the eternal. And the collective unconscious is that bridge's foundation. When people ignore this layer of the mind, they often feel lost, like something is missing, but they can't name it. They search for meaning in the external world, without realizing that the meaning they seek is already within them, carved into the symbolic language of the unconscious. This is why Jung emphasized the importance of introspection dream analysis, and myth, because by examining the contents of your inner world, you're not just exploring yourself, you're tapping into the mind of the species. But this doesn't mean we're all the same. The collective unconscious doesn't erase individuality, it deepens it. By understanding the forces that operate beneath the surface of your mind, you gain the power to shape them consciously, to work with your instincts rather than be controlled by them, to recognize that your journey isn't isolated. It's a continuation of countless others who came before you. You're not just living your life, you're living humanity's story in your own unique way. So the next time a strange thought flickers through your mind, don't be so quick to dismiss it. It might not be noise. It might be a message, a pattern, a myth trying to unfold itself through you. And once you start paying attention to those messages, once you stop brushing them off as nonsense, you begin to see the hidden blueprint of your own mind, a map drawn not by you but by the collective dreams of humanity itself. This is the beginning of understanding Jung's greatest insight, that what feels most personal is often the most universal. And once you realize that, nothing about your inner world will ever seem random again. To truly understand the collective unconscious, you have to let go of the idea that your mind is a completely isolated personal space. Carl Jung didn't see the psyche as a self-contained system. He saw it as layered, like an archaeological site with ancient structures buried beneath the surface of everyday thought. And the deeper you dig, the more universal those structures become. At the very bottom of this inner excavation lies the collective unconscious, a psychological realm that connects every human being, past and present, through a shared set of images, instincts, and patterns. These are not learned, they are inherited. Think of them as a hidden operating system, silently running behind your personal software. And just like a map, the collective unconscious contains landmarks. Jung called them archetypes, primordial symbolic figures that organize how we perceive the world and how we respond to it. These archetypes are not characters in the way you might think of people. They're more like templates. They show up in dreams, myths, religions, stories, and in the roles we play in our own lives. The mother, the hero, the shadow, the trickster, these are some of the core archetypes. And they appear across cultures, across time, as if humanity has been dreaming the same dream for thousands of years. Jung saw this as proof of a shared psychic architecture. We are not just born into families, societies, and cultures. We are born into a psychic field that holds the emotional history of our species. When you dream of being chased, of falling, of finding a secret room in your house, Jung would say you're tapping into these deeper currents. Your personal unconscious borrows the symbols of the collective to express what it cannot say directly. And this is where the real magic begins. Because the symbols you encounter, no matter how strange or surreal, aren't random. They're deeply charged with meaning that predates your individual experience. It's as if the unconscious mind speaks a universal language, and archetypes are its vocabulary. Jung didn't just theorize this in an abstract way. He spent decades studying myths, religions, art, dreams, and cultural rituals from all over the world. He saw the same patterns repeating, again and again. The hero's journey, the descent into the underworld, the wise old man, the nurturing mother, the battle between light and dark. All of these, he argued, are psychic projections of the collective unconscious, trying to make itself known in the waking world. And here's where it gets even more fascinating. Jung believed that our psychic health depends on acknowledging and integrating these archetypes. If we ignore them, we risk becoming fragmented, disconnected from the deeper truth of who we are. That's why people often feel lost, stuck, or haunted by feelings they can't explain. It's not just neurosis, it's a misalignment with the deeper symbols trying to guide them toward growth. To Jung, therapy wasn't just about solving problems. It was about individuation, a lifelong process of integrating the conscious and unconscious parts of the self, including those ancient archetypal elements. Only by confronting these deeper forces can we begin to live authentically and fully. So when you feel inexplicably drawn to a certain story, character, or theme, when a dream lingers in your mind for days, it might not just be your imagination. It might be the collective unconscious speaking through you, reminding you that you're not alone in your struggles or desires, that your journey is part of something much bigger than yourself. Jung's secret map isn't just a theory. It's a guide to exploring the most mysterious parts of your mind, a way to connect to the wisdom of the past while understanding your role in the present. And once you start reading that map, you begin to realize there's no such thing as a random thought, only signs waiting to be decoded. When you dream, something strange happens. Logic dissolves, time bends. You see images, symbols, people you know or don't, and yet it all feels like it means something, like your mind is trying to speak to you in a code. Carl Jung believed that dreams aren't just random electrical activity or replays of your day. They're messages from the unconscious, and more specifically, from the collective unconscious, a realm of timeless knowledge and symbolic language. In this world beneath waking life, symbols reign supreme. A snake isn't just a snake. A house isn't just a house. These images are expressions of archetypes, universal themes that your psyche taps into to communicate truth, conflict, and transformation. Jung saw dreams as the psyche's natural way of restoring balance. They reveal parts of yourself you've ignored, forgotten, or never even realized were there. And the symbols they use? They're ancient, cross-cultural, and deeply human. Let's take water, for example. In many dreams, it symbolizes the unconscious itself. A calm lake might suggest serenity or emotional clarity. A raging ocean might reflect overwhelming feelings. But that symbol doesn't belong just to you. People from all over the world, across history, have dreamed of water in similar ways. Why? Because these symbols come from a collective source. They're expressions of shared human experience, not just personal memory. Archetypes are the recurring roles or energies behind these symbols. The hero archetype represents the drive to overcome, to grow, to face trials, and evolve. The shadow represents the hidden, repressed parts of ourselves, the instincts we deny, the fears we bury. The anima and animus represent the feminine and masculine energies within every psyche regardless of gender. When these archetypes appear in dreams, they are not passive. They are active forces shaping your behavior, your choices, and your sense of identity. You may think you're deciding who you are and how you behave, but these deeper structures often influence you far more than you realize. The roles you fall into, the partners you're drawn to, the conflicts you repeat, all of them are infused with archetypal energy. It's as if we're living out ancient patterns again and again, dressed in modern clothes. And every night, when we dream, the soul tries to show us which pattern we're living and where we might break free or fall deeper. Jung didn't believe in interpreting dreams with some universal dictionary. Instead, he encouraged people to engage with the images emotionally and intuitively. He believed that dreams had a compensatory function. They reveal what's missing in your waking life. A proud, overconfident person might dream of falling, being chased, or losing control. A passive person might dream of fire, battle, or wild animals. These aren't just personal fears or fantasies. They're symbolic calls from the collective unconscious, urging you toward wholeness. Even mythology and religion, Jung believed, are products of the same symbolic system. Why do stories of floods, dragons, sacred mountains, and dying gods show up in every culture? Because they're not just cultural, they're psychological. They're mythic expressions of what it means to be human, facing suffering, seeking meaning, undergoing transformation. When you understand that myths and dreams speak the same symbolic language, you start to see that your story is never just your own. It's part of something much larger. That's the real power of Jung's vision. It connects you, not only to yourself, but to everyone who has ever lived. Your dreams are not isolated nonsense. They are ancient, sacred messages written in the language of the shared soul. When you start to decode them, you don't just learn about your unconscious. You begin to remember who you are beneath the surface, beneath culture, ego, and personality. Symbols, dreams, and archetypes are not just tools for therapy. They are the bridge between the individual and the infinite, between your personal story and the story of humanity itself. And the more fluently you speak that language, the more awake and alive your life becomes. Because in the end, it's not about interpreting dreams. It's about listening to them, about honoring the wisdom of the soul and allowing the deep river of the collective unconscious to guide you home. Once you begin to grasp the reality of the collective unconscious, something fundamental shifts. The way you think about yourself, your choices, your struggles, it all starts to feel different, bigger. Because you realize that you're not just a single, isolated mind navigating the chaos of life. You are part of something older, something shared, a psychological ecosystem that connects every human being, whether they know it or not. And that realization doesn't just change how you see the world, it can change your life. Carl Jung believed that the key to psychological health and personal growth lies in becoming conscious of what lies unconscious. And when you start exploring the collective unconscious, you're not just looking at your own shadow. You're stepping into a vast, mythic terrain that has guided human behavior for thousands of years. Archetypes begin to come into focus. You start to notice them, not just in stories or history, but in your everyday life. You begin to realize that the roles you play, the lover, the rebel, the warrior, the caregiver, aren't random. They're expressions of deeper currents. These archetypes are like psychic magnets pulling you into patterns of action and emotion that feel intensely personal but are in fact universal. The battles you face within yourself? Humanity has been fighting those same battles since the dawn of time. The battles you fight in your mind, the inner critic, the desire to be heroic, the fear of failure, they're not just yours. They've been fought by countless others before you. They are stories embedded in the collective psyche, resurfacing in different forms, tailored by your circumstances, but rooted in something shared. This is where Jung's idea of individuation comes into play. It's the process of integrating the unconscious, both personal and collective, into conscious awareness. It's not about rejecting the ego or becoming someone else. It's about becoming whole. When you bring light to these hidden forces, you begin to understand why you feel drawn to certain people, stories, careers, even struggles. You stop reacting blindly to the scripts and start editing them with awareness. You evolve from being a puppet of unconscious forces into a conscious co-creator of your own life. And here's where it gets even more powerful. Once you realize that everyone is tapped into the shared unconscious, you start to see humanity differently. You begin to develop a deeper sense of empathy, not because someone told you to be kind, but because you see yourself in them. Their joy, their pain, their patterns, they're not foreign, they're familiar, because deep down, they are you. This awareness also becomes a tool. Jung believed that connecting with the collective unconscious could lead to incredible creative and spiritual breakthroughs. Artists, writers, mystics, they often channel this realm, whether they know it or not. The most powerful stories resonate not because they're original, but because they awaken something ancient within us. The same is true for spiritual practices across cultures. They often aim to reconnect the individual with the timeless truths stored in the collective unconscious. Truths about transformation, sacrifice, rebirth, connection, and purpose. So what does all of this mean for your life today? It means those strange thoughts and symbols that bubble up aren't distractions. They're invitations, signals from a deeper source urging you to pay attention, to listen, to decode. Your mind isn't a closed circuit. It's a node in a vast network echoing with the wisdom, fears, desires, and dreams of all who came before you. Carl Jung didn't give us easy answers. He didn't tell us what to believe or how to behave. Instead, he gave us a map, a framework, a way to explore the deep architecture of the soul without getting lost. The collective unconscious is not just a theory, it's a reality that shapes your inner world, whether you acknowledge it or not. But once you do, you unlock something truly extraordinary, the ability to live more fully, to choose more wisely, and to connect more deeply with yourself and with the entire human story. So the next time a random thought crosses your mind, ask yourself, what if it's not random at all? What if it's a whisper from the shared soul of humanity, trying to remind you of who you really are? Because the truth is, you are never truly alone in your mind. You're standing on ancient ground, listening to echoes that have shaped empires, myths, and lives. And if you dare to listen closely, you might just hear the collective unconscious calling you home.